The Mecklenburg County election debates are a service of WTVI, Mecklenburg County, and the League of Women Voters of Charlotte-Mecklenburg. The views and opinions expressed in these debates are those of the candidates and do not necessarily represent the views of WTVI, its management, Mecklenburg County, or the League of Women Voters.
Hello, I'm Heather Wallig of News 14 Carolina. In the next 15 minutes, we'll speak with the two Republican candidates running for the North Carolina State Senate District 38 seat. Now, all of these questions come from the League of Women Voters, and the candidates have not heard them in advance. They'll each have 60 seconds to answer each of the questions, and then they'll have two 30-second challenges. If they wish to challenge another candidate's response, they'll hold up the yellow card in front of them. Let's go ahead and introduce our candidates at this time. Mr. Richard Rivette, sitting here to my right. Mr. Rivette, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Also, Mr. James Soter here to my left. Mr. Soter, thanks for being here as well. Mr. Rivette, we'll go ahead and start the questions off with you. What makes you the best candidate for this position?
Well, I think the two top issues facing our country and our state right now are the economy, of course, jobs, and particularly in North Carolina schools. Education represents more than half of our state budget, really, when you break it down. I have 30 years in business. I have started companies, worked with startups to conglomerates. I have a long history of public service and volunteerism and working even up to the global level, such as the reconstruction effort in Haiti. I understand how to create plans and do analysis and market research. That's what I've done my whole life. So what I would like to focus on is ways we can reform our tax policies, offer school choice to all parents, and pave the field so our state can compete with Tennessee, Virginia, South Carolina, and Florida, surrounding states, and even attract foreign investment to put factories here, get people back to work in career jobs, high-paying jobs, skilled jobs, so we can spread vocation, encourage greater investment in education, and reform the education system so we do have that playing field to really recover our economy.
Mr. Soter, what makes you the best candidate for this position?
Thank you, Heather. I'd like to thank WTVI for the opportunity to speak here today, as well as the League of Women Voters. I think the League of Women's Voters presents one of the issues that I have a firm grasp on, and that is that women and men who are in domestic violence, the resources are very much not there. And it's an issue, a very severe issue, which addresses a very Republican issue of marriage and keeping families together and controlling taxes on a local level as opposed to a state level. Those funds should be available and are not. And that's just an example of how I directly work and have worked since 1992 in North Carolina, directly with my districts and people within the community to address all of these problems in creating job. My specialty is job creation and employment, and that's what I've done over the years throughout the state agencies as well as my private practices.
Mr. Soter, what would you do if elected to support education in this state and increase the graduation rates?
My first step would be to offer my services as a consultant to the districts, as I have in the past. And I am with the William Glasser Institute and Quality School Management System and have been an instructor with that agency and organization for many years. We have managed school districts around the country, and I have taken it upon myself and volunteered my services in those instances, as well as my other financial resources.
Mr. Rivette, the same question to you.
Yes, I believe our school system is broken. This is what we hear from anyone we try and get to relocate to this state, from the kindergarten all the way through higher education. We need to take a long look at how we construct our administrations and districts throughout the state. We have to make major reforms. We have to get business professionals who are certifiable to get in there and fill the STEM requirements that we need right now. We need to have teachers stop being battered and from all ends of the spectrum, an administration that's truly responsible. We have a lot of administrators that have complaints against them from teachers. I want to see 2 to 3 teachers in each classroom. I know we have the budget resources. We do not have to raise taxes to do this. We just have to reallocate what we have and take a long, hard look at facilities and all the other payments we're making, because frankly, unless we support charter schools, public schools, online schools, homeschooling, private and religious schools with a school voucher system, parents won't have the opportunity to take their money and walk with their feet to a competitive environment where we know we can improve education. Money alone is not the answer. True competition is.
Taking a look at higher education, Mr. Rivette, do you think that state college costs are too high? If yes, how would you address this? And if no, how should North Carolina students pay for these costs?
Let me diverge. Community college system in North Carolina is one of the best in the country. I really appreciate their efforts. The higher education system, the university system, while very good, is also extremely expensive. I'd like to see us be able to cut tuition in half. I know we can do this. Private-public alliances and analysis could be done, steady research, to cut the costs. We have a lot of overpriced, overpaid administrative and even professorial positions that are getting grants and bleeding money from a system really to perpetuate academics itself that has no real-world application. I want to see biotechnology and future systems being analyzed in colleges and universities. I want to see grants go to things for perpetuating like interactive online education. Special needs students around the state could be able to benefit, whether they're autistic or they have disabilities, from home education offered through their own computers, web interactive systems. Higher education has a lot of potential in the state, and we can reduce our costs and offer lower tuition rates to all students if we just do it carefully.
Mr. Soter, your take on this issue?
Thank you. I agree that our college system in North Carolina is quite profound. However, I disagree with my opponent in that our costs for those college educations should be cut in half. I think that as examples are around the world in other countries as well as California, our college education should be free. I graduated late in college, working several jobs, which made it very complicated for me to complete school. And I'm still paying on student loans, and so is my wife 30 years later. That system does not work. That is clear, and we have examples of systems that work. And again, I have been on the ground with school systems, districts around the country, and with the William Gloucester Institute to affect these changes as we go on.
Mr. Soter, do you think tax reforms are needed in our state? If so, what would you support and why? And if not, why?
I would absolutely change the tax code in the state, and I would rather see the state rely more on its already established state taxes as opposed to federal taxes, and have more local control, such as our school tax, which was an issue raised yesterday in debate, brought to the local area. People should have control over that money themselves with their local politicians and school systems, as opposed to the state or federal government dictating what may work or what may not work.
Mr. Rivette, the same question to you.
I have a comprehensive tax program listed on my website, voterivette.com, VOTERIVETTE.com. I want to eliminate the gas tax, the estate tax, the income tax. I want to see things like the corporate tax reduced, especially for manufacturing, engineering, development, energy resources. We zero or moratorium it for 5 years to spur growth and development in this state. I want to move to a fair tax. That way, anyone living at or below the poverty line and those in the lower middle class would pay zero taxes, truly zero taxes, through a comprehensive sales tax to replace all the other tax code. In fact, you can rip up the IRS sheets and everything to do with the state, because we can move to a tax system whereby everybody will pay the same amount of tax, and those under the poverty line will get a prebate check at the beginning of every month so that they are paying zero taxes. We can reduce everyone's tax burden and truly energize growth in this state. We will earn more revenue going to a fair tax than using all this conglomeration of taxes we have right now. We're number one in the country on gas tax and number one in the world on corporate tax. This has to end.
Mr. Rivette, as you know, the state requires revaluation every 8 years. Do you believe that it should be done more frequently, and should the process be improved?
The process could be done every 2 to 4 years. However, the methods, the structural methods in place are very biased and very political. If you take a look at the distribution on the map, any map of a city in this state, you can see how local politics has invaded the process and used their influence to upgrade or accelerate the costs of homes in areas where they want to tax greater, such as in our city. Ballantyne's paying something on the order of 50% of the taxes for infrastructure in this city. This has to end. We need a steady algorithm that is written by professionals, and this is where you can bring in higher education because those students are bright enough to do this, and gauge the marketplace in every location on an individual basis, break it down by zip code, you could break it down by neighborhood, and determine a fair and equitable way to distribute those costs and tax people with reevaluated property taxes that are reasonable and legitimate. We wouldn't have the floor fights we're having right now in the House and Senate if we just did this thoughtfully and used some sincere mathematics.
Mr. Soter.
I have worked with people consistently over time that have a wide range of education, doctoral degrees, master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, high school diplomas, and those who don't have high school diplomas. Even within the state vocational rehabilitation office, we realize that education is not necessarily everybody's forte. We need to have some specialized programs that don't necessarily mean a college degree or a master's degree, et cetera. And those programs are very much should be within the local community control. Taxes in regards to that, again, should be under local control and well defined by those established people. When we research is clear and experience is clear that when we put money in the hands of teachers, they seek out the best supervision and the best education for themselves.
Mr. Soter, please give a short response to the following question. What one area of funding would you never, oh, excuse me, I think we have a challenge. Is that correct?
Yes, I wanted to, I wondered what that response was in relation to, because the question had to do with tax reevaluation. And right now, we have retired people in my district who've owned their homes their whole lives. They're 10 years past making the last payment, and they are getting tax bills that are 30, 40, and 50% higher than the actual market value of the homes. We have people about to be foreclosed on. They can't pay their taxes for no other reason than they're trapped in this system. We really have to address the system. It's nice that Mr. Soter addressed education, but that was not what the question was about. I'd like to know what he intends to do about reevaluation.
Mr. Soter, do you have a response?
Reevaluation is local control over taxes, and that's the connection.
All right, please give your answer to this one question. What one area of funding would you never cut? Please give a short response.
Social services, I think, serves a significant purpose in our state. I would not cut the funding, but I certainly would realign the funding and the departments within our system. Waste is rampant within our state system. I have been witness to that and suffered the consequences of that. And many people in our district suffer the consequence of that. A reevaluation there of where those funds go and how they're delivered to the people is necessary.
Mr. Rivette, what area of funding would you never cut? Please give a short answer.
Education, there's no doubt about it. We have an obligation to every child in this state. And because of that, I put together a 17-point plan, much of which has been introduced in the Senate recently, to address the urgent issues. But we have to look at the long-term goals. We have to reapportion and allocate our resources carefully. Most of the revenue we are raising in this state does and should go towards education. It is the key to providing the skilled workers of tomorrow, and is the method, one of the methods by which we can attract the business and growth nationally and internationally and market North Carolina, its products and people to the world. That's my specialty in business, and that's what I hope to bring to North Carolina State Senate. I'm Richard Rivette.
It is now time for 30-second closing statements. Mr. Rivette, we'll begin with you.
I ask people on May 8th and between now and May 8th in early voting, don't forget, vote Rivette. If you go to the website, voterivette.com, you'll see not simple 3-sentence blurbs like the other candidates. I spent years in market research helping to plan businesses, over $4 billion in sales for other companies to create great jobs where they were, but I can't get them to North Carolina. We need to have some more common sense, uphold the Constitution, fund education, provide school choice, and have comprehensive tax policy reform. That takes experience. Thank you.
Mr. Soter, your closing statement, please.
Thank you, Heather. My experience within the community is in direct contact with people on all levels. As a professional counselor, I get to help people continue on in their career and develop better jobs for themselves and for their families. I also help people who are having difficulties getting jobs and have been a part of those fund developments within our district and those allocations within our district. I would continue to do that for our district.
All right. Thank you to Mr. Soter and Mr. Rivette for being here today, the Republican candidates running for the North Carolina State Senate District 38 seat. Of course, don't forget to vote on Tuesday, May 8th. And for more information on the candidates and the issues, go to WTVI.org/debates.